This is Lucifera.
Hello, this is Shindo. Today we're continuing our conversation about the GCOL, the Greater Church of Lucifer, but specifically, since we have had questions regarding this, what an Archon is. The leadership, the four leaders in the Greater Church of Lucifer, like to call themselves Archons. Today we're going to center on one of the four Archons, one that we have been researching quite a bit, and his name is Jeremy Crow. To start with, Lucy is going to read from the I Am that was sent to her by Jacob No. According to Jacob No, this was his lawyer saying this. So Lucy will read this for you from her I Am from a couple of weeks ago.
This is part of the I Am that Jacob No sent me, so we are asking you to please cease and desist with your personal attacks of the church leaders, as that is a targeted personal attack on individuals and not the church itself. If you wish to continue to disagree with the church and its doctrine, then certainly feel free to indulge your First Amendment right of free expression, but continued personal harassment is not protected by the First Amendment and does not carry serious penalties at both the state and federal levels. And does carry serious penalties at both the state and federal levels. If you wish to discuss this matter further, you may reach me at the email above. Very truly yours, Jason Bunch, Attorney at Law.
So according to this, that was according to Jacob No, written by Saul Goodman, Jason Bunch, Attorney at Law. We need to stop the personal attacks. Well, you're going to wish that we had kept to personal attacks, because now we are going to do exactly what your lawyer, Mr. Bunch, asked us to do. First of all, since we are sticking with Mr. Crow here, let's ask ourselves, does Mr. Crow know what the definition of Archon is? Since he calls himself Archon, I would think that he would, considering that I have found online, easy enough to find, right here on the Greater Church of Lucifer website. This is Archon Jeremy Crow. I'm not going to read all of it, but I will read the relevant part. Jeremy has held officer roles in several esoteric orders, including the Golden Dawn and Ordo Templi Orientis. In 2002, Jeremy began writing and sharing articles and lessons on Gnostic Luciferianism. A matter of fact, I have found your Gnostic Luciferian website here online. He was raised to the degree of Master Mason in the ancient and primitive rites of Memphis Misraim, was mentored by Ta Sorrentus, Gnostic Bishop of Canada, resulting in Jeremy being ordained a priest. So, obviously, Jeremy Crow, who calls himself an Archon, knows exactly what Archon means from the Gnostic perspective. Let's look at that definition here. Archon, Gnosticism. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Archon, in Gnosticism, any number of world governing powers that were created with the material world by a subordinate deity called the Demiurge, creator. The Gnostics were religious dualists who held that matter is evil and spirit good, and that salvation is attained by esoteric knowledge, or gnosis. Just because the original Greek definition of Archon simply meant ruler doesn't mean that people like Jeremy Crow and of course, Michael Ford. I don't know about the other two. Quite frankly, I don't think any that Jacob Noe was anything but the person who came up with the money and their salesman. Yeah, I don't think he has any kind of esoteric background at all. But Michael Ford and Jeremy Crow certainly know what an Archon is. Because the Gnostics of the 2nd and 3rd centuries, who generally originated with Christianity, continuing in Encyclopedia Britannica, regarded the material world as an outright evil or as a product of error, Archons were viewed as maleficent forces. Sometimes the Demiurge and Archons were identified with God, the angels, and law of the Old Testament, and hence received Hebrew names. Anything associated with Archons, from a Gnostic perspective, is associated with the Old Testament God. So, if you're going to call yourself an Archon, who are you serving? If I was part of the greater Church of Lucifer, I would be asking them these questions. If you have any damn sense, you will. Here from metahistory.org. The Nag Hammadi material contains reports of visionary experiences of the initiates, including first-hand encounters with inorganic beings called Archons. Gnostic teaching explains that these entities arose in the early stages of formation of the solar system before the Earth was formed. Archons inhabit the solar system, the extraterrestrial realm as such, but they cannot intrude on Earth. Interestingly, these Gnostic insights accords closely with the view of Jacques Vallée, who maintains that ET cyborgs probably belong to the local planetary realm. Vallée also proposes that ET UFO enigma is a spiritual control system, a phenomenon that, quote, behaves like a conditioning process, quote, unquote. This is exactly what Gnostics said about Archons. They can affect our minds by subliminal conditioning techniques. Their main tactics are mental error, intellectual virus, or false ideology, especially religious doctrines, and simulation. Archons are predatory. Unlike a wide range of non-human or other dimensional beings, also known to the Gnostics, beings who are benevolent or neutral towards humanity. So, let's get this straight, Jeremy Crow. You know full well what an Archon is, that it is a predatory being that works with the demiurgic Yahweh God of the Old Testament to keep people ignorant and to keep them in lower vibrations, yet you chose to call yourself an Archon. Does that make any sense to you folks? It makes plenty of sense if you understand how this game is played. They're putting out right there in front of your face what they are. You think that these people are there to help you rise to a higher state of consciousness? They're there to sell you stuff and to keep you in a very low vibration because they're working with the Catholic Church. That's my opinion. Do I have any evidence to back it up? Only what I see about how they act. And as the good book puts it, you shall know them by their works.
This is a website called What is an Archon by John Lash. The links will be in the description box. Under the heading Level 2 Noetic Psychological. In Gnostic psychology, the noetic science of the mystery schools, Archons are an alien force that intrudes subliminally upon the human mind and deviates our intelligence away from its proper and sane applications. They are not what makes us act inhumanly, for we all have the potential to go against our innate humanity, violating the truth in our hearts, but they make us play out inhuman behavior to weird and violent extremes. Left to our own devices, we would sometimes act inhumanely, and then correct it, contain the aberration. Obviously, we do not always do so. In the exaggeration of our insane and inhumane tendencies, and in extreme, uncorrected deviance from our innate intelligence, Gnostics saw the signature of an alien species that piggyback on the worst human feelings. Hence, Archons are psycho-spiritual parasites.
So basically, Archons are there to make you go insane, according to this definition. Parasites. Let's look at your website, Jeremy, called the Gnostic Lucifer. Remember that from Encyclopedia Britannica, Archon in Gnosticism is any number of world-governing powers that were created with the material world by a subordinate deity called the Demiurge. They work for the Demiurge, the Christian, Judeo-Christian God. Let's look at what Jeremy Crow says about the Demiurge on his own site. Although the Demiurge is a creator and ruler of the physical plane, he is not the God Most High. Sometimes he is called Samael, which means blinded of God, because he thinks of himself to be the highest God. Included in these cosmic cosmologies is a being who is reflection or image, which implies light of the GMH. The Demiurge sees this image of a God higher than himself and gets scared. He binds this reflection, which is an entity unto itself, also called Adam Kadham in Kabbalistic literature, into his physical creation of an attempt to gain control over it. This was all part of the big plan, which involves feminine character called Sophia, which I won't go into detail about this introductory article. The image of GMH was shown to the Demiurge with a knowledge of what would happen. The reasoning behind this plan was that the image of the GMH had power over the Demiurge. When the image remembered itself, it would overthrow the Demiurge from below and establish the kingdom of God in the physical plane, and it was above the realm of the Demiurge. According to this cosmology, the Demiurge either created the physical universe in a flawed manner, or that he damaged the physical plane when he uttered, "There is no God before me." In all versions, the Demiurge endeavors to keep us ignorant in order to maintain control over us. It's a reasonable question to ask why somebody who writes this about the Demiurge would then take a name, a title, given to the people who are the Demiurge's little lackeys. Archon doesn't not just mean ruler. I think we've dispelled that myth and that idea. I would seriously question if I was a member of the greater Church of Lucifer and I wanted to truly bring about some form of enlightenment through gnosis, through knowledge, through understanding. Why the hell the people who are the head of my group are calling themselves Archons after the people who are parasites and only purpose is to keep us in ignorance? There you go. No personal attacks at all. This is Shindo.
This is Lucifera.
Goodbye.